Hello everyone and welcome to PeopleSoft channel. Today we are going to learn about how to send emails from your PeopleSoft system using PeopleCode. So when it comes to sending email using PeopleCode, there are two popular methods. The first one is by using the built-in SendMail function, and the second one is by using the application package code, which is about multi-channel framework, also called as MCF. So SendMail has been used popularly in the older versions of PeopleSoft system, whereas MCF is a more flexible system and has been seen PeopleSoft using it internally in the recent versions of PeopleSoft system. So today we will study about SendMail function, and in the next episode we will study about the MCF method. So for today, while discussing about SendMail function, we will see a couple of use cases such as how to send simple emails with just text contents, and then how to send emails with one or more attachments in it. We will also see how to attach a banner image or company logo inside the email, and we will see how to include some of the HTML elements such as the font or font size or table elements in your email. That's the agenda for today. This is Samir, and without further delay, let's start the discussion. So this is the snippet from PeopleBook for PeopleTools 8.51, and here we can have a basic idea about how to use a SendMail function. So you can refer this page to understand the syntax and understand about all the parameters which are part of SendMail function. Now SendMail function returns an integer value upon completion. So if the integer value written by SendMail is 0, that means there is no error and the mail functionality is successful. However, if it is a non-zero value, then generally it means that there is some error and we have to use the error handling functionality in PeopleCode. So for this tutorial purpose, I have created this page in which we can give this parameters such as to, CC, BCC, subject and body. So these parameters will be used while sending the email, and then we have the send email button, and then I have written PeopleCode at the field change event of this button. So if you see the application designer, this is the PeopleCode on the send email button for field change event. So right now I'm capturing the information from the inputs which I will give from the page. For example, in toList variable, I'm capturing the value of this to. Similarly, the value of this CC text box is being captured in the CC list. Similarly, I'm capturing all the values. These are the parameters which will be used in the send mail function. And finally, I'm checking what is the return value. In case the return value from this send mail function is not equal to 0, then I'm generating this custom error message. So I have done a small addition. I have added an email signature at the end of the email, which will appear after the email body contents. So I declared this variable, I added this content for our signature, and I concatenated this variable with the mail body variable. Alright, so now let's test the functionality by sending a simple text only email. This is the account for my dummy email ID. So let's use this dummy email ID in the to list. Let's copy the same email in the CC list. Let's provide some subject and let's provide content for email body. Alright, let's click on send email. Let me refresh And if you see, we have received the email from my PeopleSoft dummy server. As expected, this is the line coming from email subject. This is the email body, and this is the email signature which I added here and I concatenated with the email body. If we want to check the recipient list, we can click here, and as expected, this is the email in the to list, and then this is the email in the CC list. So this is how you can send a simple text only email by using a SendMail function. Now, let's say you want to send an email with an attachment. Let's say this is the text file, test email attachment with some text content in it, and you want to send this file as an attachment via email. So let's see how we can do that. The step one would be to get the complete path of the file along with the file name and the file extension. So this file is present inside this path. Path is also called as directory in technical term. So let me get this path first. Let me copy this path. All right. Then I will give it a slash and then I will take file name. So if I rename it, I can copy the file name. All right. Let me put the file name here, and do not forget to add the file extension. So this is the complete file path along with the file name and file extension. So we need to provide this to our file attachments variable. If you see, it is the variable called as mail attachments. So let me provide this complete address here and let me click on save all. Since we have made changes to our PeopleCode, let me refresh this page and let me provide the email parameters quickly. All right, let me delete my old email and let me send a new email. So if I click on send email, if I go to my mailbox, as you can see, I have received a new email from PeopleSoft system. It says send email with attachment, and this is the attachment. So if you click now, the attachment will be available to you as expected. Now we have this attachment, that is fine, but if you see the name of that attachment, it does not look good. It is nothing but the complete path of that file which we have passed in the program, and the end user may not understand what is this slash home slash psadm2 etc. So in order to make the email more readable, we need to give some name to the file instead of this path, so that the end user will understand what is the file about. And yes, we can do that. Let's say we want to give a name such as test file to this attachment. Let's see how we can do that. So we have this variable called as attachment underscore titles. Here we can provide what is the name of the attachment files. So if I say this is a test attachment, all right. So let me click on save, and since I made changes to the PeopleCode, let me refresh the page. So let me delete my old email and let me fill these parameters. All right, I'm ready with the parameters. Let me hit send email. And if we check the mailbox, we have received a new email, send mail file attachment with file name. And if you see, this time the file has a proper name attached to it. So this is how we can give name to the attachments. Now it's fine that we send one attachment, but in the real world, we may need to send multiple attachments to our email, right? It can be a couple of text file, or it can be a couple of Excel or CSV reports, or it can be a couple of PDF file, couple of images, etc. So yes, don't worry, you can send multiple attachments using the send mail function. Let's see how we can do that. So if you see, I have another dummy file which is test email attachment 2. Now we will send both of this file, this one as well as this one, to our email. So the process is same. I need to get the complete file path along with the file name and file extension. So I will simply add 2 here because that's the actual file name. Now I need to provide this path in the same variable. Remember, this is the variable which we will pass to a SendMail functionality, right? So we need to provide all the parameters regarding attachments inside this single variable. So the way we would do is we will just add a semicolon here at the end to indicate that the first value has been completed and a new value is coming. And after the semicolon, we can pass the path along with the file name and extension as follows. So semicolon acts as a separator between multiple values to the file attachments. And if you see, we have this variable called as mail separator. It is nothing but a semicolon. So indicates that in case of multiple values, the values are being separated by a semicolon. Now let's provide name to the second attachment as well. So this is the attachment name for the first attachment. Let's add a semicolon and let me provide a name for second attachment. So let's say it is nothing but second attachment. All right, let me click on save all. Let me delete the email. Let me refresh the page. Let me quickly fill the parameters. So let's click on send email. And as expected, we have received the email with 2 attachments, and both the attachments have a proper name as we saw in PeopleCode. So this is how you can deal with attachments in PeopleCode and send one or more attachments to the end user. Now let me show you another useful trick. In PeopleSoft system, for every user, we have something called as operator ID. Now there might be a situation where you know the particular operator ID, but you do not know his or her email address. So let's see how we can find the target email address if we know the operator ID. For that, let's implement this functionality where we have this checkbox for a copy manager, or it can be supervisor. So here we assume that manager and supervisor both are interchangeable terms. So the requirement of the functionality is that if we check this checkbox and if we send the email, then the supervisor of this particular user should be copied to that email. So let's see how we can implement this functionality. So these are the additions that we have made to our PeopleCode. So once we capture the CC list, we will check if the copy to manager checkbox is checked or not. If it is not checked, then there is no action required. However, if it is checked, then we will capture the operator ID of the currently logged in user, which will be VP1 in our case. So once we have the operator ID, we will pass this operator ID and query the PS job table so that we would obtain the supervisor ID. So from this supervisor ID, we will pass this supervisor ID to this query and we will query the PS, OPR, DEF and table. So using this query from this table, we will obtain the email ID of the supervisor ID. Finally, we will modify the CC list of our email by adding the email ID of the supervisor. So in our demo environment, VP2 is the supervisor of VP1. And if we check the email address, this is the email address of VP2. All right. So let's send an email. So if we send an email without checking this checkbox, let's see what happens. So we received a new email from PeopleSoft, and this is the email. If we check the distribution list, there is no one in the CC. Alright, let me delete this email. Now this time, let's say we check this checkbox, and if we send an email, let's see what happens. So we received a new email from PeopleSoft system, and this time if you check the distribution list, we can see VP2 has been copied to the email ID as per this functionality. So this is how you can extract the email ID of a PeopleSoft user. So now it's time to do some advanced stuff and include images in our emails. So oftentimes it's a requirement of the company that their logo, company logo should be present in the email ID. So let's see how we can do that. So I just Google for PeopleSoft channel and I got this wonderful image, and my requirement is that every time I send the email, this image should be present in my email. So let's see how we can do that. So the first thing we can do is let's copy the link for this particular image. So let's right click and let's click on copy image address. All right. Then we have the HTML tags, such as this is the tag for HTML elements, and this is the image tag which we would be able to use to display images in the HTML document. So in the image source, let's provide the address that we have copied. So let's copy this content and let's paste this in the mail body section. So let's add the HTML content here. Let me paste it. And now we need to properly concatenate the HTML string from the non-HTML string. Alright, so let me provide a double quote and a concatenation operator. Similarly, let me provide double quote here. So now this is the HTML content and this is a non-HTML text content. Now, if I need to use the HTML content, I need to set up the content type as HTML or a text. So now the content type is blank, but this is the value that we can use in order to enable HTML content in our email. So let's save the changes. Since we have made changes, let me reload the page. So let's fill in the form quickly. Let's copy the manager and let's test the functionality. So let me delete the old email, and just now we have received a new email, and as you can see, we have received our email with the company image as expected. So now you need to tweak a little with the body content because this is an HTML content and this is a non-HTML content. Alright, so now let's see how we can make few more HTML elements additions to this email. So now let's say we want to change the font of this text which is part of email body. Let's see how we can do that. So right now if you see, this content is outside of that HTML tag. The first thing we need to do is we need to include this content which is coming from our page inside the HTML tag. So let's do that. So let's cut the HTML tag from here and let's append it at the end. So next we can do is let's include this email body inside a paragraph. So paragraph is one of the HTML element. If you Google it, you can easily get tutorials for the same. So let me create a HTML paragraph. So this is the paragraph starting, and let's say the paragraph ends here. Let me do the concatenation. of HTML element and a PeopleSoft text element. Now let's see how does it work. So let's save the changes. Let's refresh the page. Let's fill this form quickly. And let's click on send email. So we have received a new email, and as you can see, this time it is neat and clean. In the previous email, this text was just beside this because this was a HTML element and this was a non-HTML element. But since now we are using paragraphs, these are all behaving as a HTML elements. Now let's say we want to give formatting and we want to change the font of this email content which is coming from here. So let's see how we can do that. So in HTML, we have the style attribute. So let me provide the style attribute for this paragraph. And let's say we are going to use this Vardhana font for our paragraph. So let me save the changes. Let me refresh the page and fill in the demo information. Let me copy the manager and let me click on send email. So let's wait for the email. This is the new email. Let me open this, and if you see, this time we have a different font. So this is the line coming from the paragraph which is in different font versus this is the line coming from the email signature which does not have any fonts. So in this way you can apply formatting to your text content and you can do the adjustment as per your requirement. Similarly, by including the HTML tag, we can include many useful HTML elements in our email. So let's say we want to use the popular HTML tables. So let's say we want to display the number of active employees, number of total employees and inactive employees in our system. So we obtain the data from the PSOPR definition table using these three sequels. And then inside the email body, we use the HTML table tags as you can see, and we created a table by passing the appropriate value. Alright, so let's test this functionality. Let's save the changes. And let's say we need to send the email along with this data. So let's click on send email. Let's wait for the email. So this is the email, and as you can see, using the HTML tag, we can also include table in our email body. Alright guys, that's it for today's episode. And as promised, we will cover the MCF functionality to send email in the coming episode. If you found this content helpful, then please like this video and subscribe to our channel. It really motivates us to keep on creating quality content for PeopleSoft. See you in the next episode. Thank you.